The grand assembly hall of the Galactic Council stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian, its vaulted ceiling displaying real-time feeds from 1,000 inhabited systems. Representatives from 247 species occupied their designated spaces, crystalline velcrons that pulsed with bioluminescent thought. The towering Krathax with their 6 arms crossed in perpetual judgment, even the gaseous ephemerites contained within their ceremonial spheres. But one seat remained conspicuously empty. Ambassador, Thelvar of the Zephion Concordat couldn't stop his tertiary eyes from drifting toward it. The human seat, empty for 317 cycles since first contact, when the primitive inhabitants of Sol 3 had been granted observer status and promptly disappeared. The resource allocation dispute between sectors 447 and 448 requires immediate, High Chancellor. Vormath's deep voice rumbled through the chamber. Forgive the interruption. High Chancellor. Thelvar rose, his iridescent carapace catching the ambient light. But I must raise a matter of growing concern. The humans. We've detected no transmissions from their system in over 300 cycles. Their seat remains empty. Their status, uncertain. A ripple of chittering, humming, and telepathic whispers cascaded through the assembly. Vormath's 6 eyes narrowed. The humans were granted observer status as a courtesy, a primitive species barely capable of faster-than-light travel. Their silence suggests they've either destroyed themselves, as many young species do, or wisely recognize they have nothing to contribute to galactic affairs. With respect, High Chancellor, Thelvar pressed, should we not verify? The Sol system lies at a strategically significant junction. If another power has claimed it, the Dominion has claimed nothing that wasn't already ours by right of conquest, snarled General Krixtor of the Vortan Dominion, his scales flashing aggressive crimson. The Vortans controlled 42 systems through military might, and made no apologies for their methods. We surveyed Sol 3 2 cycles ago. The humans have retreated to their homeworld. They pose no threat to anyone, least of all us. Thelvar felt his circulatory system accelerate. You surveyed human territory without council approval? We surveyed unclaimed space, Krixtor corrected, rising to his full 3-meter height. The humans made no effort to defend their borders. They've built no outpost beyond their moon. They're hiding, probably terrified now that they understand the true scope of galactic civilization. Perhaps we should extend diplomatic contact, suggested Ambassador Lyra, the Centauri representative whose species prided itself on peaceful resolution. Her melodic voice carried across the hall. If the humans are afraid, reassurance might. The Council has more pressing matters than coddling a species that can't even colonize their own star system. Vormath's pronouncement carried the weight of finality. The humans chose isolation. We respect that choice. Discussion closed. But Thelvar couldn't let it rest. Something about the human silence bothered him on a level he couldn't articulate. He'd studied the initial contact reports. Crude but functional spacecraft, primitive but creative weapons, and something in their cultural transmissions that suggested a species with uncommon resilience. After the session adjourned, he made his way to the Council archives, a vast digital repository containing every known fact about every species in galactic space. The human file was remarkably thin. Initial contact had been brief, a human vessel called the Discovery encountering a Council patrol near the Kuiper Belt. The humans had been invited to send an observer. Dr. Sarah Chen, a scientist and diplomat, had attended exactly 3 sessions before returning to Earth. Then, nothing. Thelvar accessed the Vortan survey data through channels he probably shouldn't have had access to. The Dominion's reconnaissance showed Earth from orbit, blue oceans, green continents, sprawling cities. But something was wrong. The cities were there, but the electromagnetic signature was all wrong. Too quiet, too controlled, and there at the edge of the Sol system, barely visible in the Vortan scans, structures. Massive structures orbiting in the dark between planets, their purpose unclear. Their design unlike anything in the Council's extensive database. Thelvar's primary heart skipped a beat. You're digging where you shouldn't. The voice made him spin. Ambassador Lyra stood in the archive entrance, her luminous form casting soft shadows. I've been monitoring the human situation too. The silence doesn't feel like fear, does it? It feels like something else entirely, Thelvar agreed. The Vortan survey is incomplete. Deliberately so, I think. General Crixtor knows more than he's sharing. The Dominion plans to expand into human space. Lyra's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. I intercepted encrypted communications. They believe Earth is ripe for conquest. A single isolated world with no allies and no defenses worth mentioning. When? 12 cycles. They're assembling a fleet. Thelvar stared at the image of Earth floating in the holographic display. That beautiful blue marble orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Somewhere on that world, Dr. Sarah Chen and her species were doing, what, hiding? Or something else? We need to warn them, he said. With what authority? The Council has declared them beneath notice. If we act without sanction, we risk our positions, possibly our lives. Thelvar thought of the empty seat in the Grand Assembly. He thought of the mysterious structures at the edge of the Sol system. He thought of the human cultural transmissions he'd reviewed, stories of resilience, of survival against impossible odds, of a species that seemed almost proud of their ability to endure. Then we act without sanction, he decided, because I think the galaxy is about to learn something important about the species we've been ignoring. Lyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Then we'd better hurry. I suspect the Vortans are about to make a terrible mistake. The human transmission intercepted Thelvar's ship exactly 14 light minutes from Earth's moon. Unidentified vessel. You have entered Sol territorial space. State your purpose or reverse course immediately. The voice was female, calm and utterly devoid of fear. Thelvar exchanged glances with Lyra across the small bridge of his personal courier ship. They'd expected detection. Every civilized species monitored their borders. But the confidence in that transmission sent his secondary heart racing. This is Ambassador Thelvar of the Zephion, Concordat and Ambassador Lyra of the Synthari. Union, we come with urgent, diplomatic warning for Earth's government. The Vortan Dominion plans military action against your world in 11 cycles. Silence stretched across the void. Thelvar counted his heartbeats, 7, 8, 9 before the response came. Maintain current heading. Reduce velocity to 0.25 light speed. You will be escorted to Luna Station. 2 vessels materialized from seemingly empty space, their hulls absorbing sensor radiation in ways that made Thelvar's instruments scream impossible readings. They were smaller than his courier, sleek and predatory, with no visible weapons but an aura of barely contained lethality. Stealth technology, Lyra breathed. That's decades beyond what the initial contact reports suggested. Centuries, Thelvar corrected, studying the escort ship's impossible sensor profiles. Those vessels shouldn't exist according to our understanding of physics. The journey to Luna Station took 6 hours. As they approached Earth's moon, Thelvar's instruments began detecting more anomalies. Structures that hadn't appeared on Vortan scans. Defensive platforms positioned at Lagrange points. Energy signatures that made no sense according to conventional technology. Luna Station itself was carved into the moon's far side, invisible from Earth but impossible to miss up close. It bristled with technologies Thelvar couldn't identify, and when their ship settled into the docking bay, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The bay could accommodate vessels 10 times their size. The humans were building for scale. Dr. Sarah Chen waited for them in a conference room whose walls displayed real-time feeds from across the solar system. She looked older than her file photos, gray streaking her dark hair, but her eyes held the same sharp intelligence that had been noted in the first contact reports. Ambassadors, she greeted them with a slight bow. Thank you for your warning, though I should mention we've been tracking the Vortan fleet assembly for 3 cycles. You know, Thelvar stated, not quite a question. We know many things, Ambassador. We've been listening to Galactic Communications since the day we returned from the Council. We know the Vortans consider us easy prey. We know the Council has dismissed us as irrelevant. We know that 16 species are betting on how quickly we'll surrender, and another 9 are planning to claim salvage rights from our ruins. Lyra's luminescence flickered with distress. Dr. Chen, you must understand. Many on the Council would help if we could, but the Dominion operates within legal frameworks. They're not violating Council law by expanding into what they claim is unclaimed space. Because we're not members, just observers who stopped observing, Dr. Chen said without rancor. She touched a control and the wall display shifted. Let me show you what we've been doing instead. The images took Thelvar's breath away. The structures he'd glimpsed at the edge of Vortan scans were revealed in full detail. Massive installations orbiting in the dark spaces between planets, each one larger than the Council's Grand Assembly Hall. But more shocking were the facilities on Earth itself. Entire cities reconfigured, their power grids unified into something that looked less like civilization and more like a single vast machine. "What are we looking at?" Lyra whispered. "Human preparation," Dr. Chen replied. "When we attended those first council sessions, we learned three important things. First, that we were the youngest species in galactic civilization by at least 4,000 years. Second, that the galaxy operates on principles of strength and conquest more than law and cooperation. And third, that no one would protect us when someone decided we were worth taking." She walked to a window overlooking Earth, that blue jewel hanging in the black void. "We went home and asked ourselves a question. How does a species survive when surrounded by predators who've had millennia to perfect the art of war?" "You've been building weapons," Thelvar said, understanding dawning. "We've been building certainty," Dr. Chen corrected. "Ambassador, you're familiar with human history. Our wars, our destructions, our near extinctions. The files mention considerable internal conflict. We've almost destroyed ourselves 17 times in the last 10,000 years. Nuclear weapons, biological warfare, environmental collapse, artificial intelligence gone wrong. We've flirted with extinction so many times it's almost routine. And each time we learned something. We learned that survival isn't about having the biggest gun. It's about making sure that anyone who pulls a trigger regrets it absolutely." She turned back to face them, and Thelvar saw something in her expression that made him profoundly uncomfortable. Not madness, not aggression, but an absolute certainty that was somehow more terrifying than either. "We've had 317 cycles to prepare for this moment. We've watched the Vortans conquer 42 systems. We've studied their tactics, their ships, their psychology. We know General Krixtor thinks Earth is defenseless. We know he's assembling a fleet of 400 warships, the largest force the Dominion has ever committed to a single conquest." "Dr. Chen," Lyra said softly, 400 Vortan warships could sterilize a planet. Your world, no matter what preparations you've made. We'll teach the galaxy why humans don't give up," Dr. Chen finished. "Why we don't surrender. And why underestimating us is the last mistake any species will ever make." She gestured to the displays, and new images appeared. Complex mathematical models, energy readings that made no sense, and at the center of it all, a symbol that Thelvar didn't recognize but somehow feared instinctively. In 11 cycles, the Vortans will arrive expecting an easy victory. Instead, they're going to discover what happens when you threaten a species that spent 10,000 years learning how to survive the impossible. Thelvar stared at the symbol, at Dr. Chen's calm expression, at the mysterious structures orbiting in the dark. "What have you done?" he whispered. Dr. Chen smiled, and it was the saddest, most determined expression Thelvar had ever seen. "What we had to. What we always do. We prepared to do the unthinkable to survive another day." The Vortan armada emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metallic locusts, 400 warships arranged in perfect battle formation. General Krixtor stood on the bridge of his flagship Inevitable Conquest, his scales gleaming with anticipation as Earth filled the view screen, small, blue, defenseless. "Full sensor sweep," he commanded. "Locate their defensive platforms. This will be over before—" "Sir," his tactical officer interrupted, confusion evident in his posture. "We're detecting no defensive installations, no orbital weapons, no fleet, nothing." Krixtor's third eye narrowed. "Verify." "Verified, General. Earth is completely undefended. There's a small station on their moon, but it's broadcasting no military signatures. It's as if they're not even trying to resist." A slow, predatory smile spread across Krixtor's face. The humans were even more pathetic than intelligence suggested. No wonder they'd hidden for 300 cycles. They'd realized they had no hope against true galactic powers. "Open a channel. Let's offer them the chance to surrender with dignity." The communication channel crackled to life, and Dr. Sarah Chen's face appeared on the view screen. She sat in what appeared to be a simple office, a cup of tea steaming beside her, utterly calm. "General Krixtor," she said pleasantly, "we've been expecting you." "Dr. Chen, I am here to claim Sol System for the Vortan Dominion. Surrender now, and your species will be permitted to live as subjects under Dominion law. Resist and—" And you'll sterilize our planet, Dr. Chen finished. Yes, we know. You've done it 17 times to 17 species who refuse to kneel. We've watched the recordings. Very efficient. Krixtor felt momentarily off balance. Then you understand your situation. Where are your defenses, Doctor? Your ships? Or have you truly left your homeworld naked before us? Oh, our defenses are exactly where they need to be, General. But before we proceed, I'd like to ask you a philosophical question. Have you ever heard of the human concept of mutually assured destruction? Primitive deterrence theory. Threaten to destroy your enemy even as they destroy you. It only works if you have weapons capable of threatening us, which you clearly don't. Dr. Chen took a sip of her tea. Not quite right, General. MAD works if the cost of attacking becomes unacceptable. The weapons are just one way to achieve that. Humans found other ways. She touched a control and new readings flooded the Vorton sensors. The mysterious structures at the edge of the solar system, dormant until this moment, suddenly blazed with energy signatures that made every instrument on the inevitable conquest scream warnings. What are those? Krixtor demanded. We call them causality engines, Dr. Chen explained, her voice still unnervingly calm. Humanity spent 300 cycles doing something no other species bothered to do. We didn't just advance our technology, we rethought the fundamental rules we were playing by. You see, General, most species focus on building better weapons, bigger guns, faster ships, but humans asked a different question. What if we could make it so the attack never happened at all? Thelvar and Lyra watched from Luna Station, and Thelvar felt his circulatory system freeze. No, he whispered. They couldn't have. Temporal manipulation is theoretically impossible. The paradoxes alone. Not impossible, Lyra breathed, her luminescence flickering with something between awe and horror. Just unthinkable. Because if you succeed, the consequences. On the Vortan flagship, Krixtor's tactical officer was analyzing the data. Sir, these readings suggest it's impossible. They're claiming to have weaponized causality itself, but the energy requirements alone would require the entire output of a star, Dr. Chen confirmed as if she'd heard him. Good thing we have one. Every city on Earth, every fusion plant, every solar collector. For 300 cycles we've been building one single unified machine. Our entire civilization has become a weapon, General. Not a weapon that destroys you in the present, but one that ensures you never existed to threaten us in the first place. Krixtor's scales shifted to uncertain yellow. You're bluffing. Temporal paradoxes would destroy you along with us, would they? Dr. Chen's smile was sad. We're not sure. We've run the calculations 17,000 times. Sometimes we survive the paradox. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes the entire universe restructures itself in ways we can't predict. That's the beauty of it, General. We don't know what will happen if we activate these engines. We just know that you and everyone who sent you will cease to have ever existed. Your empire, your species, your entire timeline erased. Retroactively. She leaned forward, and for the first time, Krixtor saw what the galaxy had missed for 300 cycles. The absolute determination in human eyes, forged by 10,000 years of surviving the impossible. Here's what makes humans different, General. Every other species stops at the line of mutually assured destruction. They say, I could destroy you, but I'd die too, so let's not fight. But humans? We looked at that line and said, what if we make the cost so high, so incomprehensible, that no one would dare cross it? We're willing to risk erasing ourselves from history to ensure you can't harm us. We're willing to gamble with causality itself, because that's what 300 cycles of watching your kind conquer and destroy taught us. The only way to truly be safe is to be absolutely terrifying. Activate weapons. Krixtor snarled. I will not be threatened by... General! His science officer's voice cracked with panic. Those structures are charging. Whatever they are, they're reaching critical energy levels. If they activate, the temporal distortion will propagate across everything. Not just us, not just Earth. The entire galaxy could... Dr. Chen raised one hand and the energy reading stabilized, holding at the edge of activation. I'm offering you a choice, General. Turn your fleet around. Leave this system. Report to the Council that Earth is defended by something they cannot fight, cannot counter, and cannot comprehend. Or... She paused. Or roll the dice with us. Maybe you win. Maybe you conquer Earth. Or maybe you, your fleet, your entire species, and possibly everyone in the galaxy simply never were. Silence filled the comm channel. Crixtor stared at the readings at the human woman sipping tea while holding the trigger to a weapon that could erase history itself. At the trap he'd walked into with absolute confidence. "You're insane," he whispered. "No, General, we're human. We're the species that survived 17 near extinctions by being willing to do whatever it takes. We're the species that looked at the darkness and decided we'd rather burn everything than kneel to it. We're the species you should have left alone." Crixtor's claws trembled over the firing control. 400 ships against one planet. It should have been simple. It should have been easy. But the numbers on his screen showed temporal distortion, building, reality itself bending around those impossible engines. And he realized something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The humans weren't bluffing. They'd built a weapon so terrible that using it might destroy them too, and they were perfectly willing to pull that trigger. "Retreat," he ordered, his voice hollow. "All ships, fall back to hyperspace coordinates. Now." Dr. Chen nodded slowly. "Wise choice, General. Please convey a message to the Council. Earth's seat will remain empty until we're treated as equals, not prey. And tell them that any species that threatens us will face the same choice you just made. We won't come hunting you. We won't conquer you. But we will absolutely ensure that attacking us is the last decision you ever make. Literally." The Vortan fleet vanished into hyperspace, and the causality engines powered down. Thelvar found his voice. "Dr. Chen, would you really have?" She turned to face them, and her expression held an exhaustion that transcended the physical. "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "And that's what makes it work. Neither do they. We built a deterrent so absolute, so terrifying, that no one can calculate the odds. We made ourselves unpredictable, unknowable, and too dangerous to gamble on. It's the only way a young species survives in a galaxy of predators." She stood, looking out at Earth spinning peacefully below. "The galaxy fears our empty seat now. Not because we're gone, but because we chose to be absent. We'll return when they understand that humanity doesn't play by their rules. We make our own. And anyone who forgets that learns why humans are the only species willing to gamble with the universe itself to protect what's ours."